About a month ago, I did a video. Let's see, what video was this? Oh yes, the Civil War 1. The signs of civil war is coming and what you should do to prepare. You need to listen to that video. You also need to listen to all of these videos. But and then here in this latest video, will the USA abandon NATO in EU's darkest hour? There might be a prophetic reason you need to listen to that as well. And the reason why I say this is because what is happening in the United States right now. Okay? The governor of Texas, because he's been stymied in every way by the U.S. government. For instance, when he sent, when the federal government sent in their agents to tear down the barbed wire to block the border between Mexico and Texas, the governor of Texas had to send in their own guards, border guards, to stop the U.S. border guards from tearing down the barbed wire fence. Texas today has officially declared an invasion. Why would they do this? There is a clause in the U.S. Constitution, folks. I'll get to that in a minute. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in just 3 years. That is more than the population of 33 different states in this country. So here is the announcement. Governor Greg Abbott, January 24, 2024. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration, despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I delivered to him by hand. President Biden has ignored Texas demands that he perform his constitutional duties. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. President Biden has instructed his agencies to ignore federal statutes that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. The effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States by wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas border security infrastructure. President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from 28 legal entry points along the state's southern border bridges where nobody drowns, and into the dangerous waters of the Rio Grande. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in just 3 years. This is more than the population of 33 different states in this country. This illegal refusal to protect the states has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people of all across the United States. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. That is why the framers included both Article 4, which promises that the federal government shall protect each state against invasion, and Article 1, 10, Clause 3, which acknowledges a state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. and the failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article 4 has triggered Article 1, 10, Clause 3, which reserve this state the right of self-defense. So what he is saying, now because the United States of America refuses to abide by the Constitution, Texas now has a right to self-defense, aka levy war. For these reasons, I already have declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, to invoke Texas constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority as well as state law to secure the Texas border. What I am saying is the United States, if you haven't figured it out by now, is literally rupturing, is coming apart. You didn't think it could happen? Well, when you listen to the Pledge of Allegiance, when they said indivisible, I used to laugh at that. Indivisible, huh? The things that men come up with. The Roman Empire was divisible, was it not? The Russian Empire was divisible, was it not? The USSR came apart at the seams, did it not? And you think that the United States of America is going to stay together forever? I was saying 8 or 9 years ago that, even on some of my videos, that I predicted the balkanizing of the United States of America. And not because I had any super intuitive intelligence. No. All you got to do is take a look around you. It should have been self-evident to everybody. And yet, people are so up to their eyeballs in debt. You think that once the breakup of the United States begins, that the United States government is going to uphold the banking insurance, the FDIC? You think you're going to be able to hold on to your house if you're making loan payments on it on time? But it's the law. Folks. Really? Oh, how things can change in a moment. Remember, this is one of the things that always gets me. And I've always remembered. I remember watching on TV a long time ago when I was living with my parents as a child. A Jewish woman in Austria. She said her neighbors are very friendly to her. But the moment Adolf Hitler rolled into town, they all started throwing up their Sieg Heil Hitler signs and chants. Just like that. Folks, this world is going to turn on a dime so quickly you won't even know what happened. You should have had your finances in order. You should have had your house in order. Because things look like they are going to turn real fast this year. Now, I'm going to go ahead and look at this one first. Hal Turner is a Jew hater, an enemy of mine. But in this case, he has, in this particular article, he has put together quite a bit of information. I'm going to ask everyone that they not be swayed by his anti-Israel stance. But the whole world has an anti-Israel stance, so you should not be shocked at his foolish words. But anyway, when it comes to Israel. Alright, so the union that is the United States is rupturing. Texas is now empowered to levy war, as I just pointed out to you. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in times of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with any other state or with a foreign power, or to engage in war unless, oh, and there's that word unless, unless actually invaded. Well, the governor of Texas just declared that his country is, that his state is being invaded, or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. So, now we have several states now joining with Texas in a compact. Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Virginia, and South Dakota and Montana. But more are jumping in. I believe it is Missouri and Alabama have now jumped in. Okay, so you have the governor of Montana chiming in on Twitter, governor of South Dakota, governor of Oklahoma, governor of Missouri, governor of Virginia, governor of Florida, and the governor of Florida states this: if the Constitution really made states powerless to defend themselves against an invasion, it wouldn't have been ratified in the first place, and Texas would have never joined the Union when it did. Texas is upholding the law while Biden is flighting it. Florida will keep assisting Texas with personnel and assets. Jim McLugan states, breaking from Texas. Governor Greg Abbott, Texas on right to self-defense. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and other visionaries who wrote the Constitution, etc. So what these states are doing is entering into a compact with Texas because Texas is actually being invaded. They have the right under supreme law of the land to do exactly that. In fact, now Texas has the right to levy war. Well, I'm not going to sit here and say maybe they should. I'm not going to get into the politics of all of this. But what I am saying is, be prepared to watch the United States, the balkanizing, the ripping apart of the United States of America. And be prepared for the logistics in the United States of America to also be ruptured. I told you to have your beans and rice in a couple of videos, did I not? Now, if that is not enough, as you know, if you all have not been sleeping under a rock, you would know by now that that the U.S. government has only been continuing on resolutions, just resolution after resolution, after continuing resolution after continuing resolution. Okay? Because the government is up to their eyeballs in debt. So, what has happened is the House of Representatives have put a bill together, sent it to the Senate, and they're saying that we will only fund the Ukraine war if the other side agrees to close, watch out, or take care of the U.S. border. Well, Scalise's aid to Senate GOP border deal is dead on arrival in the House. What does that mean? That means there will be no more funding coming from Congress to Ukraine. A senior aide to the House Majority Leader Steve Scalise told a group of Senate Republican Chief of Staff Thursday that a border security deal that is being put together with Democrats in the Senate has no chance of passing the House, underscoring what has become more and more apparent to the senators, U.S. senators. And I don't know if it'll be anything down here concerning the bleak prospects for Ukraine and border security package in the House are not changing the strategy of Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Republican Leader Mitch McConnell, who plan to move forward with the Senate bill. It's not going to happen. There's not going to be any more funding coming from the United States to Ukraine. So we're going to have a standoff. You see, it looks like the USA is being moved out of the world picture, out of the world scene. I'm not saying in exactly the same way the Russian Empire was moved off the world scene in World War I, but possibly similar. Who knows how it's going to work? But the more and more and more we continue down to the end of the world, it looks more and more like the United States, the world's policeman, is being pulled aside. So that Israel's enemies can come in and invade the land of Israel and receive their final judgment. So, if you have not prepared yourself, I don't know what you're waiting for. And you women who have forced your husbands to buy you your fancy house in gated communities, put your family in hock for years and years to come for temporary pleasure of high standard of living, you may be in big, big trouble. And you may regret what you have done. I plead with every one of you, do not take this warning lightly. Prepare for what is coming down the pike. It is extremely important that you do. I've been saying over and over and over again for the last 9 years on YouTube, the time of the Gentiles is about to come to an end. And very few have listened. I hope you have listened, and I hope you're paying attention.